Accident victims like you deserve better. A husband and wife were rear-ended, and insurance offered them $10,000. We litigated the case and got them $375,000. Qualified expert attorneys can get you more. Call Zirkin and Smerling today.
Good morning, Baltimore, and we hope that everyone has a very good, chilly fall morning this Thursday. We're here a little early today, and we're here with our wonderful co-host, Miss Lauren Brown. Good morning, Lauren.
Good morning.
How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing pretty well. It's a nice day, and can't ask for more than that.
Yeah, it's going to be a great day.
Yeah.
It looks like it's going to warm up a little bit, but yeah, plenty of things going on around Baltimore. I guess we're in the studio once again for the third time in about a week and a half, doing some makeup work and catching up on all the issues and things of that nature. So, yeah. So, what have your ears been to the ground? So, what have you been following in the recent news?
Oh, there's so much. I mean, in Baltimore news, let's stick with Baltimore.
Oh, we're local. We're hyper local, so we want to keep it, keep our focus on the home turf.
Well, there's been a lot going on, even locally, that relates to outside of Baltimore news,
Sure.
like how different organizations responded to Hamas's attack on Israel and the ensuing war. That has affected people on a local level.
Oh, of course. I mean, there's a lot going on, in that realm as well. We'll get to some of that a little bit later on in the shows, obviously. I know I've been, kind of paying attention. It's we're only about 6 months out from, going to the primaries, which for us. Less than six. I don't even know what I need to figure out what day election day is, but.
It is May 14th. May
14th. So we just crossed that 6 month mark. So, wow. So not a lot of, going on as far as the new candidates entering the race, but certainly wanted to talk about, obviously the top of the ticket for us in the municipal is the mayor's race, and we've had some interesting developments that we hadn't covered yet, but I certainly want to do so. And one of those interesting developments was the recent announcement of delegate of the 41st District, Sandy Rosenberg, has pulled his support from Mayor Brandon Scott and decided to support former Mayor Sheila Dixon and her challenge to Scott's in the mayoral primary. Are you familiar with Delegate Rosenberg?
Before today, I was not too familiar. He is not my delegate, but I've been reading up. So now I'm more familiar.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm pretty familiar with him. He's Delegate Rosenberg is representing the 41st delegation in Annapolis for some time. I've lived in this 41st district for about 20 years, a little over, and very familiar with him. And I was, very surprised to see, Delegate Rosenberg's always been a very staunch supporter of the incumbent. So it's an interesting development here that I thought would be interesting to the voters of Baltimore. And so we've asked Delegate Rosenberg to join us this morning and discuss some of those developments. So. Good morning, Delegate Sandy Rosenberg. How are you doing?
Good morning. Pleasure to be with you and
Thank
your
you, sir.
Listeners. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, and we certainly appreciate you taking the time to join us and your willingness to share. Lauren, you met Delegate Rosenberg. You're meeting Delegate Rosenberg for the first time.
Yes, I am.
And I heard you had a little interesting tidbit on one of the delegates' hobbies.
I heard that you swim every single day. Is that true?
I should swim every single day, but I'm not that good lately. I hope to get there today and tomorrow.
That's still pretty
saying
impressive.
That publicly will be make sure I get myself there.
Now you have to.
There's that accountability. Yes. They'll be looking for you. Excellent. So just for the viewers, Delegate Rosenberg, not everyone, has been as fortunate as myself to have you as the representative for so long.
Thank
So
you.
you want to just quickly take us through, your career in public service and any background information you'd like the voters of Baltimore City to know about Delegate Rosenberg?
Sure. Well, when I graduated from law school, I said I didn't want to go work for a firm. I wanted to be in public service, and went to work for the Baltimore City Housing Department. Bob Embry was the commissioner. Don Schaefer was the mayor. I got the Section 8 existing housing program off the ground, and this was 1975. And then in 1982, I ran for the legislature, was elected. My first term, remember now, every district has 3 delegates. And one of my fellow delegates from then the 42nd district was Ben Cardin. It
Oh,
was
wow.
the last term in Annapolis, my first term, and he was speaker. I was a freshman, but he got me on the appropriations committee, and that is where you best learn about state government and how state government can be used. Funding, where you put your money, is a very strong public policy statement for any government or for any private entity, whether it's for-profit or nonprofit. And I learned that. And for the last 21 years, I have not been on appropriations. I've seen the sites, if you will, of the committees in Annapolis, but have still able to use the budget process to benefit the people that I represent.
Excellent, and I certainly, as a constituent, thank you for your long service. I wasn't, and I'm learning myself here. You started off in some pretty good company, huh?
Indeed. And
Yeah,
we're still in
excellent.
touch on a
Yeah,
regular
yeah.
basis. Yeah.
Well, in all the years that I've been a constituent and seeing you around at the community meetings and during election time, and you've even knocked on our door, quite a few times. You've always been a staunch supporter of the incumbents, and especially I don't think I've ever experienced an occasion where you supported someone and then they didn't pull support. I mean, you've been such a loyal supporter. I see you at the polls. When I'm there, I tell my kids. They say, when can we take a break? I said, when Delegate Rosenberg leaves, you can leave, right? And they end up, giving me a hard time. They said, that guy never left. And I'm like, well, that's why I told you to stay there. So I think losing your support is a big deal because you are such a hard worker at the polls, and you do have, a great following up here in the Northwest. And, so brings us to the question, you had been, a supporter of the mayor in the last election, and recently, you decided to go in a different direction, and I think the voters, want to hear a little bit about how that decision, came about.
Sure. Well, it's been the product, unfortunately, of the relationship, not only that I've had, but I think that many citizens have had with the current administration over the last 3 years. And it's very difficult to get them to respond on issues. And I have worked with Sheila Dixon when she was the mayor, and in the conversations I've had with her this fall about her candidacy, I can see that understanding of how important it is for the government to be responsive to people when you call about the trash, or when you call about the traffic light or the intersection or the school system, whatever the case may be. An essential part of your job as an elected official is when government touches people, when we affect your life, whether it could be, this is at the state level, your child needs mental health care or is developmentally disabled, or Social Security at the federal level, unemployment insurance at the state level. But there were some really basic things: trash, the roads, potholes, so on. We do public policy, but we also do public service. And I just think, and I'm not alone in this belief, and that the current administration has not met its obligation there.
Well, I can tell you that you're not alone in this conversation. You're talking to someone that has actually, filed a lawsuit against the city for not picking up the trash. Right? We have a mandate to have our recycling picked up once a week, and we've been off that schedule for a couple years now, unlike any other jurisdiction around us, and it's very frustrating. And I certainly share that as your constituent and a constituent of the administration. I share that frustration for the lack of responsiveness to basic, very basic city services, and agree with you. Now, what I paid attention to as well was the response from the administration. When the announcement was made. And I just want to get maybe your feedback on how, and I should have brought up had a copy of their response. I'm not sure if you remember it, but just your reaction to the response of the administration upon learning that you were going to go a different direction this cycle.
My response is to continue doing my job, working with my colleagues from the 41st District, Senator Carter, Delegate Attar, Delegate Ruff, on behalf of the people we represent. When it's a broader issue than someone's, something dealing with just your house, but when there's a broader issue, we try to work together, and that's what I'm still doing. So the way I do my job is not affected by the politics of the upcoming primary.
Excellent. No, I certainly understand that, and I can certainly understand. Like I said, I share your frustration with the administration on many of the levels that you describe. It's oddly enough, I was just quipping with my co-host here about how the upcoming election is only 6 months away. And, that feels like a short time, but we know that it really, it's going to be a marathon, not a sprint. And I think the filing deadline is sometime in mid to end January. And then the withdrawal deadline probably is going to be in February. With that said, it's still, fairly early as far as the actual field, shaping up and whether or not there'll be more entrance to the race. So just wanted to, get your reaction to whether or not I understand pulling support, but you've also committed support to former Mayor Dixon's run coming up here, and just want to any feelings toward whether or not that they throwing support out this early before the deadline and knowing what the final field might be. Are you fully committed, or is there anyone that entered a race that would cause you to maybe second guess that?
Oh no, I'm fully committed. These are the two prime candidates, the mayor and the former mayor. I don't see anybody else getting in at this late date who would have a realistic chance of winning the primary. I know Sheila. I look forward to working with her again. And there's no uncertainty on my part.
Understood. That support is solid, and yes. I can tell you, they gained a hard worker at the polls. With that pickup.
Look, I always tell people, I have no better opportunity to meet the people I represent and hear from them a fair amount of problems or issues, or you did the right thing, you did the wrong thing, than on election day. And so I'm there to help myself when I'm on the ballot, of course, but I'm also there to help the people I've endorsed. But there's also that benefit of just touching hands and hearing from the people that I represent for almost the entire 13 hours on election day.
And I can tell you, I know that very statement firsthand, because when I approach you at the polls and I say, are you going to take a break? And you say, hey, I might miss an opportunity to meet somebody.
Right.
So
that is true.
You are certainly in your element when the polls are open. There's no question about that. But
thank you.
I'm going to shift gears and be a little selfish here. I live in Mount Washington up here in the Northwest. and very close to the the Pimlico racetrack facility. And as we start to have conversations and seeing proposals and designs for the reimagine the inner harbor downtown, it kind of brings back the the feeling of the plans and the excitement that was around the redevelopment of Pimlico up here. So I'm going to be a little selfish and say the harbor can wait. Let's get our Pimlico project, done on the books, and just for the folks in the northwest neighborhoods, and I think the city has an interest,
Yes.
as in this as well. Just a quick update or what you see as far as happening with the Pimlico redevelopment.
Well, this all began when the high-level officials of the owners of the track, the Canadian company, the Stronach family, decided, one Preakness week, they were very negative about the Pimlico neighborhood where they are. Granted, one of their employees was a murder victim, not on the racetrack property itself, but not far away. But what they said had implications. That is, would Pimlico remain open? Because they had no real commitment to the city, and this wasn't statements made just because of this one horrible incident. So I said, the Maryland Stadium Authority is well regarded in Annapolis because of the work it had done at that point on the two stadiums downtown and other things as well. And I said, they should do a study. We should fund a study by the Stadium Authority, or for the Stadium Authority to oversee. Is this site a viable site for the 21st century with a new building and a new whole setup? And so we're now at the stage where this past legislative session, we created by statute a racing authority, thoroughbred racing authority, comparable to the racing authority in New York and California, which runs racing. Currently, we license a private owner to run racing in the state. And this would, we have added to the law the possibility of granting the license to this new authority. We also required that the authority present a report to the legislature no later than December 1 on its plans, what it sees as the future for racing. And every indication is that they are going to recommend that Pimlico be the only 1 mile racing facility in the state. Not only would we keep the Preakness here, but this would be the home, the heart of thoroughbred racing in the state. Using only 1/2 of the Pimlico site, or maybe a little more, a little less, for racing purposes, which creates a significant development opportunity for Northwest Baltimore, Pimlico, Mount Washington, everybody on both sides of the track. And we've already been meeting and talking about that. But I am very optimistic that that report will get us off the ground. The money has been authorized for that redevelopment, but this will get us out of the starting gate, if you will.
Yeah, that's excellent. And if you, I'm obviously not holding you to this, but is there like an estimated time frame of when we think we might be able to see some activity as far as a project kickoff over there?
Well, if you see the right activity legislatively next session.
Okay.
That's what is needed to kick everything into gear.
Excellent.
And every indication I have is a positive one as to what will happen after that report is issued.
Excellent. And is there anything that you would advise your constituents to do to assist that process during the next legislative session, or is there anything we can do as advocating?
Is to advocate to the four of us in the district, to the governor, to the mayor, to the candidates for mayor, that this is an important development, not just for racing, but for Northwest Baltimore and the metropolitan region as well, because of the benefits that the Preakness brings. But we also now have, as opposed to the prior 8 years of this process, we have a governor who cares about what happens to the Pimlico neighborhood, the Park Heights neighborhood. And that there's already been investment, but there have been, the High organization has opened 2 senior citizens project. The Henson development is about to break ground on a multifaceted development on the west side of Park Heights. There's going to be a new Pratt Library branch, which is something that came about initially because of the slots money that comes to the Park Heights neighborhood. So this is a crucial 5 months. You said the election is May 14th, and that's 6 months away, but the end of the session by which we need and expect to make real progress on the Pimlico redevelopment, that's within the next 5 months.
Got it. Excellent. So we'll keep our ear to the ground and just let us know what letters need to be written into who, and I'm sure that you'll get a lot of support around that. And so recently, more recently, I think was a day or two ago, we saw you were co-signed on a letter released by I think State Senator Shelley Heddleman.
Correct.
And Lauren, you've been following kind of the CASA development over more closely. So
Yes.
You have a copy of the letter and maybe a question or two for Delegate.
I have the letter. Well, the first thing I notice is, well, there's a number of signatories. Are you disappointed that more of your colleagues didn't sign on?
Well, we did it initially from members, delegates who are members, and senators who are members who are Jewish. We are seeking additional signatures, but we wanted to get the letter out. Initially, we've gotten support and fully expect, I know of one member from conversation I've had, that would be added to the letter. So that's the initial version of the letter in terms of the number of signatories, but there will be more.
Okay. Well, that's good. And then CASA apologized. What do you think of the apology? Do you accept it? Do you think it's,
I'm going to look
not
forward.
genuine?
In fact, I'm meeting with someone from a national group tomorrow as to what issues relating to immigration in Maryland can we focus on in the coming session to be positive and to benefit the immigrant community, which each and every one of us, is either an immigrant to this country. Some were brought here as, against their will, obviously, but I'm focusing on that. I would say about this whole controversy, it is crucial to recognize the horror and intended horror of what got this started. That is the attack on the citizens, not the military, but the attack on the citizens near the Gaza border. And I've been there several years ago. The attack on those citizens on October 7th. And I think any statement on what's happened since must fully recognize and share in the horror of what happened on the 7th, and look at the history of Hamas, and also as well recognize why the Israeli troops are now in a hospital, because they had sound reason to believe, and based on my reading of the independent press, that the American government agrees that there are military facilities below the hospital, and this is how Hamas does its work.
Absolutely.
And,
I mean, they commingle society with their own, terrorist activities, and it's a difficult situation. I agree with you, Delegate.
thank you. Yeah.
One more question. Is there any consideration, has the General Assembly considered withdrawing funding from CASA?
Well, the letter that was sent out by the Montgomery County senators raises that as a possibility. It doesn't say we definitely will attempt to do this. It raises it as a possibility. The ACLU a few days ago sent a letter saying that would withdrawing money based on free speech, expressions of free speech would violate the First Amendment, and there may or may not be an effort to address funding for CASA by the General Assembly, where my focus is going to be. And if there is, let me be honest, if there is an effort to remove the money, I am sure that there will be a floor vote, and at that time I will make a decision based on the law and the facts as to what I would do. But as I said, hopefully there can be an issue where many players in Annapolis can work together to benefit the immigrant community we have in our state. And that's where my focus will be, recognizing that there may or may not be a vote that I will need to cast on funding for CASA. But I haven't done enough study at this point to decide whether we are prohibited from.
And hopefully that card is way down the road. And CASA, my understanding is that they made a change in leadership, or did they?
I don't know. I do not know.
Okay, I thought I saw somewhere where in the mail, and we'll fact check this, but I believe that the person responsible for the statement and the Twitter post is no longer in that position. But maybe that's,
I don't know.
Okay, well, hopefully they'll get themselves. If not, then hopefully they'll get themselves going in the right direction. And I'm certainly, as a constituent, firmly against any organization being funded by public dollars that expresses any type of hate or anti-Semitism. Mm-hmm. And but even if the state and public money is not able to be pulled from it, it seems like they're going to take some hits anyway, because you have a release from the Weinberg Foundation where they've put some support on hold. Mm-hmm. That was going to go to CASA. So I think
they've pulled funding. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you have there on the Weinberg?
Yeah, this is a long statement, but yes, I know within the statement they said that they would no longer. I believe
it was about $150,000 or so that was earmarked for those.
Yeah.
Now,
phone number. Yep, $150,000. Mm-hmm. Previously approved for CASA de Maryland. They've pulled that.
Right.
And in there, towards the end of that letter, doesn't the Weinberg Foundation talk about future decisions would be made based on
until they demonstrate a genuine understanding of the harm that it has caused, including substantive anti-Semitism training for the board and staff of the organization. So they're going to need.
Okay.
Which is getting that ship heading and going in the right heading, which is the way I feel about it as well. So, it was unfortunate. I think it was an unfortunate statement. I'm interested in how that the genesis of it, the process that CASA went through before officially releasing that statement and those social media posts, and I think that's something within their organization that needs to be investigated. Who was involved in those decisions? Last question for Delegate Rosenberg, and we certainly appreciate your generosity with your time this morning. there are other organizations who, obviously the Weinberg Foundation and our state delegation in Montgomery County, came out harsh against this. But there are other organizations that I know Jews United for Justice is set to offer or set to award CASA. I think it's the Heskel Award this weekend. It doesn't look. I haven't seen where there's been any pushback on Jews United for Justice continuing to support CASA. Do you have any thoughts on their plans?
They're entitled to do what they think is the right thing to do. I'm not going to object or support. I would say the letter that I signed makes no mention, I'm pretty sure, of the funding issue. We chose to stay out of that.
Understood. Well, thank you for your time.
I do have one off-topic question. Do you still teach at UB Law? Because I'm starting there in following fall 2004.
Well, I teach at both law schools. I co-teach the class with Senator Shelley Edelman.
The legal writing class?
Last night was our last class at UM. Next Tuesday is the last class at UB.
Last class forever?
No. The semester.
Yeah.
Well,
okay.
We hope it's
Is it
not
over
our
already?
last class.
Well,
but we hope
perhaps
when
I'll
you're a
see you.
second or third year student that we'll still be teaching it. Yes.
Awesome. Well, I'll see you then.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you for your time this morning, Delegate Rosenberg, and I look forward to seeing you at the polls.
My pleasure. Hope to see you before then and before then. Thank you.
Yeah, he is a great guy. And as I said, I've been obviously I followed my local politics, and that guy is a poll warrior. I mean, he is there, and he is for the people he's for. And while I can certainly understand his reluctance to offer any public feedback on the administration's response to his announcement, I'll certainly offer mine. And I tell you what, I've been working on political campaigns for a long time. When you have someone that's willing to work as hard for you as Delegate Rosenberg is for the people that he supports, you really should be working to regain that support. I mean, that statement that they put out was inadequate for what they lost, and it's and maybe that explains why they are where they are, because sometimes they don't even know what they have. And if that were my campaign, I would have been apologetic to the delegate for not meeting and living up to his expectations, and I would have been asking, what can I do to get his support back. But I think it's going to be their loss is going to be the Dixon campaign's huge gain, and that's all. I'll leave it there for that for now. But yeah, so episode 7. Go ahead and wrap it up here.
All right. Well, it was fun to chat with you, Baltimore. We didn't chat with them. You put me on the spot here to give a closing. Good morning, good evening, and good night.
Until episode 8, be safe, Baltimore.